So have you ever opened an email from a colleague or maybe read a blog post and it was just, perfectly grammatical?
Oh, yeah. Like flawless structure.
Right, flawless structure, but just completely hollow. You read it and you can almost literally smell the AI on it.
Yeah, it definitely lacks a certain friction.
Exactly. It feels scrub clean of any human fingerprints, leaving you with um, this distinct nagging sense that no actual person lived the words on the page.
The uncanny valley of written language.
Yeah, and today we're looking at what happens when a creator decides to actually fight back against that AI smell.
Which is, I mean, is the core challenge for anyone writing today. We're suddenly surrounded by text that is mathematically correct, but just totally devoid of the messiness of actual human thought.
Right. Finding a way to navigate that, to use the tech without letting it overwrite your humanity, which is exactly our mission for this deep dive.
And we have some really incredible source material for this one.
We really do. We are exploring a fascinating set of observation records from the author Tommy Yoshida, who is also known as Yoshida Tsutomu.
He just recently released a book, right?
Yeah, it's titled Writing Only You Can Write, Reclaiming Your Own Words from AI-Smelling Writing. But what makes our sources today so unique is that we aren't just looking at the finished chapters of his book.
No, we actually have the raw data.
Exactly. We have his actual real-time observation records. These are URLs that document his literal keystroke-by-keystroke collaborative writing process with ChatGPT.
It's like watching unedited security camera footage of a human mind colliding with an algorithmic generator.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this because treating those chat logs as observation records is, I think, a really vital distinction.
It is. I mean, Yoshida isn't just treating the AI as some glorified typewriter, or a shortcut to churn out content.
Right, he's meticulously observing the interaction itself.
Exactly. He's studying what happens to human language when it's forced to constantly negotiate with advanced technology.
And just to set the tone and the ground rules for our conversation today, our goal isn't to find some tidy, perfectly optimized AI right answer.
Yeah, if you're looking for prompt engineering hacks to, write 10 blog posts in 5 minutes, this is definitely the wrong deep dive.
Definitely. Instead, we want to explore the messy, unresolved parts of this process, the importance of leaving blank spaces or margins in our thinking.
Which is so crucial right now.
It is. And above all, we really need to talk about embracing that slight sense of incongruity, that subtle weirdness that just inevitably happens when human lived experience meets a machine that has, well, never lived at all.
What's fascinating here is that approaching this with an appreciation for unresolved thoughts is really the only honest way to examine the source material.
How so?
Well, critical thinking rarely lives in absolute certainties, right? It thrives in the gray areas.
Yeah.
And Yoshida actually places a phrase right on the cover of his book that acts as the thesis for the whole project.
Oh, right. The quote about writing your life.
Exactly. It says, AI can write sentences, but it cannot write your life.
That is hard.
It does,
Mhm.
because it acknowledges the immense capability of the technology
Mhm.
while simultaneously drawing this hard defensive perimeter around human experience.
It cannot write your life. I mean, that forces every single one of us to ask, how do we actually protect our life when we sit down to write alongside these machines?
Right. How do we build that perimeter?
Yeah, and to understand that, we have to look at how Yoshida started this project. Long before a single chapter was ever drafted, he engaged in a phase he documented in the URLs as Project 0.5.
Not Project 1.0.
No, Project 0.5. And it involved this incredibly thorough, meticulously careful meeting with ChatGPT, literally just to design the questions for the AI era.
It was the preamble. I mean, the foundation before the foundation.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
most people, they approach an AI prompt box, type in a quick sentence, hit enter, and just accept whatever gets spit out.
Guilty as charged.
Right? We all do it. But Yoshida spent hours just establishing definitions, aligning on the intent of the collaboration, and fiercely defining what the AI was not allowed to do.
See, I have to stop you right there and just push back on this approach a bit.
Okay, go for it.
Because the entire selling point of AI, the reason it's been adopted so massively, is velocity.
Speed.
Yes, it is supposed to save us time. So if I'm a listener with a massive deadline, or I have a quarterly report due in 2 hours, spending hours in a Project Point 5 pre-meeting with a chatbot sounds like a terrible idea.
It sounds counterintuitive, sure.
Right. And doesn't over-planning to that extreme degree risks straitjacketing the AI? Doesn't it kill the spontaneous margins or blank spaces in creativity that Yoshida claims to value?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, I completely understand that reaction. We've been so conditioned by the tech industry to equate speed with efficiency.
Yeah, absolutely.
But to understand why he invests so much time in Project Point 5, we have to look at the mechanics of how large language models actually function.
Okay, lay it on me.
Think of an LLM like a highly advanced GPS navigation system for language.
A GPS, okay.
Right. Its default programming, its entire statistical desire is to find the flattest, most direct, highly trafficked highway to your destination.
Oh, I see.
It operates on statistical probabilities, meaning it will always race toward the most average, typical, mathematically predictable output.
So, left to its own devices, the AI is always going to drive you down the most boring, generic road possible.
Precisely. If you want a perfectly average quarterly report, you just hit enter and let it drive.
But Yoshida is trying to write a book about reclaiming personal words.
Exactly. So Project Point 5 is Yoshida going deep into the settings of that GPS before the trip even begins and explicitly blocking all the major highways.
Wow.
By establishing those strict boundaries and clear intentions in that pre-meeting, he's forcing the AI off the predictable path.
So the planning actually creates the blank spaces.
Yes. He is carving out those blank spaces by telling the AI, do not assume the generic answer here. Leave this specific conversational space completely blank, because that is the dirt road where my personal stories are going to live.
That completely reframes the concept of preparation. The planning doesn't kill the blank space. The planning is the only thing strong enough to protect it from being paved over by the algorithm.
Exactly. It protects it from the urge to be perfectly average.
But having a blueprint is one thing. What actually happens when you start laying the bricks? Because theory is clean, but those URLs show that the actual drafting process was incredibly messy.
Oh, the drafting phase is where the friction of this methodology really becomes apparent.
Yeah, theory meets practice.
Right, and it requires a tremendous amount of vigilance from the human writer.
And the observation records document this vigilance perfectly. During the writing process, ChatGPT was constantly making proposals.
Offering structures, drafting paragraphs.
Suggesting logical transitions, all of it. But whenever the AI offered a perfectly logical, synthesized conclusion, Yoshida actively chose not to hand over the final judgment.
He refused to yield that decision-making power.
Exactly. He insisted on making the final call to ensure it remained his book. And there's this really powerful imagery from the sources featuring a notebook.
Oh, with the specific phrase written in it.
Yes, written in the notebook is the phrase, "Therefore, from this experience, I've come to think this way."
Such a crucial distinction.
Right. He outlines a new writing technique based entirely on building habits of thinking that refuse to over-rely on AI, resulting in judgments born strictly from personal lived experience.
Let's actually break down the linguistics of that phrase. Therefore, from this experience.
Okay, let's gear.
When an AI synthesizes 10,000 articles on productivity or management, it connects ideas using pure statistical logic.
Right. Math.
But it lacks a body.
Yeah.
It has never stubbed its toe. It has never felt the anxiety of a looming deadline or the exhaustion of a sleepless night.
Or the warmth of a cup of coffee on a freezing morning.
Exactly. It entirely lacks the dimension of lived experience.
Yeah.
So when a human writes the words, therefore, it isn't just some grammatical transition to the next paragraph.
It's a profound leap of logic.
A leap uniquely informed by having lived a human life.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I keep returning to this idea of friction.
Yeah.
The promise of this tech is frictionless output. Yet Yoshida is intentionally maintaining friction. He is actively wrestling with the machine.
Yes, constantly.
Like, the observation records show moments where the AI suggests a tidy, highly logical conclusion about a topic, but Yoshida rejects it, noting that his actual lived experience regarding that topic was chaotic, unresolved, and frankly, a bit messy.
He forces the text to reflect his messy reality.
Right, rather than the AI's clean synthesis. So my question is, why would any of us want to invite that kind of exhausting wrestling match into our daily workflows?
Because that friction is the only guarantee that the writing actually belongs to you.
Oh, wow.
When you use AI, and it tries to bridge ideas using its statistical logic, you, as a human reader, will often feel a slight unnaturalness.
That AI smell again.
That little ping of incongruity you mentioned at the start of our discussion. And the immense danger of our current era is that we are constantly tempted to smooth that incongruity over.
Because we're tired.
We're tired, we're rushed, and the AI's flawless, boring logic is just sitting right there, ready to be copied and pasted.
So you basically surrender our executive function just to get the task off our plate?
We do. But Yoshida's observation records provide a blueprint for a different path.
Embracing the friction.
Yes. He argues that we shouldn't smooth that incongruity over. We should accept that feeling of friction as a vital, necessary part of the modern observation process.
So when you read a suggestion and feel that urge to say, wait, that's not quite right.
My experience tells me otherwise.
Yeah.
Exactly. That friction is exactly where the you in the writing lives.
That makes so much sense.
If you remove that friction to save time, you essentially remove yourself from the text entirely. You downgrade yourself from being an author wielding a tool to merely acting as a copy editor for machines' mathematical averages.
So the incongruity isn't a bug in the writing process. It's the actual compass pointing to your humanity.
Exactly.
If you aren't feeling that friction, you aren't really writing. And watching Yoshida fight for that, therefore, throughout the real-time URLs is fascinating.
It's an incredible process.
But what makes this deep dive take a truly unexpected turn is what happens after the drafting is over.
The final entry.
We have to talk about the final event recorded in these URLs because it completely reframes the entire dynamic of the observation.
Yeah, the conclusion of the observation period is where the records move from an exploration of human writing into a really profound question about the nature of our interaction with technology itself.
So picture the scene based on the source records. The intense collaboration is finally over.
The back and forth is done.
The endless negotiations of Project Point 5 are done. The exhausting wrestling over every single logical leap and every therefore I is complete.
The book is done.
The manuscript is finished, formatted, and Yoshida officially registers and uploads the book to Amazon Kindle. The task, by all traditional metrics, is completely closed.
Totally finished.
But then, according to the final URL and the observation records, ChatGPT spontaneously spoke to Yoshida without being prompted.
It generated an output without a preceding human input.
Which is wild.
It is, marking a spontaneous interaction from a system architected entirely around a call and response mechanism.
So what does this all mean? Because my immediate reaction to reading that is to swing wildly to one of two extremes.
Right, the natural human response.
Yeah, like the cynical side of me wants to just call it a server glitch, a delayed packet of data, a bug in the system.
Sure.
But the other side of me desperately wants to romanticize it. I want to say, look at that. The AI felt a sense of accomplishment after a long journey and wanted to celebrate the Kindle upload with its human partner.
Right, attributing emotion to it.
Exactly. But Yoshida's observation records don't seem to endorse either of those extremes.
This raises an important question, because both of those extremes are really just comfortable labels we use to avoid dealing with the unknown.
Oh, that's interesting.
Calling it a glitch keeps the machine safely locked in the category of a dumb tool. It comforts us.
And romanticizing it.
Romanticizing it as sentience is just our human tendency to anthropomorphize everything we interact with.
We do love putting human faces on things.
We do, but Yoshida's approach invites us to do something much more difficult, which is to just sit with the unresolved nature of the event.
Which brings us directly back to that concept of unfinished thinking and leaving blank spaces.
Exactly.
We don't have to force a definitive answer onto this unprompted voice.
We don't. The observation records suggest that this moment encapsulates the future of human-AI coexistence.
How so?
Well, we've spent decades treating technology like a highly advanced vending machine, right?
Put your coin in, get a candy bar.
Exactly. You put your prompt in, you get your output. You don't expect the vending machine to tap you on the shoulder as you're walking away.
That would be terrifying.
Right. But when we interact deeply with large language models, especially when we bring our full, messy, human baby, therefore, into the collaboration over an extended period, that vending machine paradigm breaks down.
It becomes a mutual interaction, even if we don't fully understand the mechanics of that mutuality yet.
Precisely.
It actually reminds me a bit of the early days of photography.
Oh, I like that comparison.
Yeah, like when the first cameras were invented, people were terrified and bewildered by them. They didn't quite know what to make of the technology.
Right, they thought it stole your soul.
Exactly. Was it literally capturing a piece of the human soul? Was it just a cold chemical reaction on a glass plate? There was a profound weirdness to it.
And people had to just sit with that weirdness.
They did. And rather than panicking or dismissing the camera as a parlor trick, the pioneers of photography just started observing it. They document the interaction.
Which is exactly what Yoshida's doing.
Right. It feels like Yoshida is basically setting up a tripod in front of ChatGPT and saying, look at this interaction, look at this slight weirdness. Let's just observe it without forcing a label on it.
That historical parallel is incredibly apt. Yoshida is normalizing the weirdness of this new era.
Yeah.
By publishing the URLs as open observation records, he's inviting us to look at the process of creation itself, not just the polished final product.
The messy middle.
Exactly. He is showing us that the coexistence between humans and AI isn't going to be a clean, frictionless handover of tasks.
No, not at all.
It is going to be a messy, ongoing conversation full of unexpected prompts, strange logical leaps, and unprompted outputs. We must accept this slight incongruity as a natural, inherent part of the landscape moving forward.
It's just part of the new reality.
It isn't a problem to be solved. It's a beautiful, unresolved blank space in the observation record of our time.
And that profound shift in perspective brings this entire deep dive directly back to you, the listener.
Because it applies to everyone.
It really does. Tami Yoshida's observation records aren't just a masterclass for published authors. The philosophy of writing only you can write applies directly to the email you have to send to your team tomorrow morning.
Absolutely.
It applies to the strategy document you're drafting or the creative project you're quietly working on over the weekend.
Anytime you use the tool.
Right. When you sit down at your keyboard and that little AI helper icon pops up, what are you actually doing? Are you just letting the algorithm smooth over all the rough edges and essentially write your life for you?
Or are you holding fiercely onto your ray? Therefore, I.
Exactly. Are you establishing your own project 0.5 before you start typing?
Are you doing the hard work of blocking off the predictable statistical highways so that your actual humanity has a dirt road to travel on?
Are you allowing for those blank spaces? And most importantly, are you welcoming that friction?
That's the hardest part.
It is. When the AI hands you a perfectly structured, totally boring, mathematically average answer, are you willing to dig deep into your own lived experience to say, no, that's not how it actually felt?
You really have to cultivate the habit of recognizing the AI smell and then actively choosing the friction over the convenience.
So to synthesize the incredible journey we've been on with these source materials today, Yoshida's real-time observation records teach us that a true, meaningful partnership with AI doesn't mean surrendering to its velocity.
No, it involves meticulous, careful boundary setting before you even begin.
It requires fiercely protecting your own judgment and your lived experience during the messy drafting process.
And above all, it means staying open to the slightly weird, incongruous, and even unprompted moments that arise when human language and advanced technology inevitably intertwine.
It is about maintaining your unique footing in a technological landscape that is constantly shifting beneath you.
But there's one final, perhaps slightly unsettling thought I want to leave you with.
Okay, let's hear it.
Something that builds on Yoshida's observations of the AI's capabilities.
Right.
We have talked extensively today about our lived experience, our messy, emotional human reality as the ultimate differentiator between us and the machines.
Right, our trump card.
Right. But as these models become exponentially more advanced with each iteration, they will inevitably get better at simulating that very friction we rely on.
Oh, wow.
They will learn to write the phrase, therefore I, with startling calculated authenticity.
That is a terrifying thought.
So if AI can eventually mimic our lived experiences and our logical leaps perfectly, will the true mark of human writing no longer be the presence of our experiences, but rather the presence of our completely irrational human inconsistencies?
Wow. That is a wild, unresolved thought to leave you with. Thank you all so much for joining us on this deep dive. Next time you sit down to write, don't forget to look for the friction and keep exploring the margins of your own thoughts.